Number 1.
39.
1.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.
2.
1.
It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up. There I am. I hadn't forgot to push the button to come live from the Chateau de Mars Hill studio. And welcome to, yes, another Tuesday night. Tuesdays roll around when you have deadlines to get shows going. So I'm trying a new camera angle this time. So hopefully I won't look like I'm staring off into space like usual. But yeah, it's time for a mouthwash show. We got a great show lined up tonight. We got Peeps on the Streets. We have Mark Small Talk. We got the famous Micah Beckwith. Every time I turned on the radio today, he was on it. But first, I just want to say something about our guests. You know, I mean, it seems like we have no problem with getting conservatives and libertarians, but we've had a really hard time getting Democrats and liberals to come on the show. I reached out to Moms Demand Action, the Red for Ed teachers, and if they I know they get the message, but they refuse to even answer. They don't even have the common courtesy to answer back, or they say, "Oh, I can't do it." We asked Carrie Forrestall to come to the Art Center. I just couldn't even respond. I don't know what it is. It just seems like that maybe the Democrats and the lefties are pretty much really good in a mob, but when you get them straightened out. So this is me calling you lefties, liberals, Democrats, whoever, and this exclude Dana Black. She's been a great person on the show. She's never been afraid to come on and express her opinions, and I appreciate that, Dana. So this is not to you. And then Mark Small on Small Talk, he's a lefty, but he's in the Republican Party, but it doesn't really matter. He's not afraid to come on, and he seems to survive okay. I say, maybe we should name this Mouthwash, not a mini fresh take on politics. Maybe we should name it Mouthwash, a safe place. This is a place where you can come and you can sit back in your little beanbag chair, have you some lattes, and we can talk about the weather or whatever. I don't care what we talk about, but we are friendly on this show. We are not a gotcha show. We are friendly. So that's my little rant. Usually I don't do that, but it's very frustrating when I take time to set up shows and I want to have differing opinions and we just don't get the differing out. And here we got Slickwood. He's already going Mouthwash safe zone. Maybe we'll have that. Maybe we can get, we have Mark Small Talk. Maybe we can get a Democrat Mouthwash safe zone. I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm hoping that we will be able to get some other opinions on this show. But hey, I love our guests. Most of the time guests respond favorably and they want to come on and they like our little show. We're have fun and try to keep some lightness on it. And I got a really good conspiracy theory, by the way, speaking of that, later on in the show. But I'm going to do a shameless plug for my wife's show, the Do Something Indie show. And she's got a really interesting guest tomorrow night at 8:00. This is a recorded show. And what happens is Lisa comes on, we do the recording, and then we have a discussion. But this is the lady that her name is Linda. And she adopts babies that have been abandoned when they die, when they're little, either at the hospital or maybe they've been thrown in a dumpster. It's a really interesting story. And she's been doing this for quite a while, but what she'll do is she'll adopt them and then she'll give them a proper burial. So let's look at this little clip here, and I'm sure it's going to pique your interest, and maybe you'll want to tune in tomorrow night. And that's on the Do Something Indie page on Facebook. It's on, I believe, Twitter and YouTube. So, hey, no excuses. You can catch it. So let's see this preview, and then I'm going to have my good friend Micah Beckwith on the other side.
Five years later, through incredible circumstances, I met Zachary's mother, and I met her and took her to the grave to see her baby's headstone. Aww. And I talked with her, about that and all about the funeral, showed her pictures. And that was where God really taught me his heart for redemption.
All right. I know, Micah, you're probably interested in watching that, aren't you?
That looks really cool. Definitely piqued my interest for sure.
Well, and Lisa's, Lisa and myself, I talked to Lisa since I'm building this castle in Chateau de Mars Hill area over here that's got like 3 bedrooms and a thing. I talked to her a couple of years ago when I was remodeling. I said, hey, well, let's do some foster kids. And she looked at me like, oh, yeah, I'm living in this basement, foster. No way. Well, then we had the Roe versus Wade overturn, and guess what? Guess who said, hey, let's do some foster kids. So we're in the process of going through that training and all the things you have to do for some foster kids. So we're looking for some, it's like going to Walmart looking for shoe sizes. So we're looking for sizes 10 years old to 13 years old to try to do some of that and see what we can do to help. So last week, Lisa had the lady that invented the baby boxes that are in the firehouses. So she's like, she's like walking the talk here on, getting some things going. So anyway, how are you doing, Micah?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for having me on the show, man. You got some good stuff going, and I heard your rant. I was thinking maybe the Democrats in Indiana, maybe they just don't really exist. Maybe that's like,
wow, you're really piling it on there. It's like, hey, don't spike the football, but and like I said, Dana Black's been very good on the show, and she's not afraid. And Mark Small, he's, like I said, he's not afraid to come on and mix it up. And I think if you're going to have a position, you should be confident in it. And if you're not confident in it, then maybe you should not talk. That's just me.
That may be part of the problem, John. I think kind of in the mob or on social media, like there's a lot of boldness there, or I would say fabricated boldness. But when you kind of get into a place where you've got to be quick, you've got to know what you know and know why you know it. I just don't see that coming from the left right now. I think they're trying to play so many mental gymnastics around the issues that it's hard for them to actually know the truth and know where even the truth starts. I mean, you can really easily undermine the leftist logic today because it's not rooted in truth. And so, but I love being around people who do, like for instance, Dana or Mark. They know what they know and know why they know it. And as a conservative, I like being challenged. I want a liberal or someone who has a totally different worldview than me to try to push back on me, because I don't know if I don't know my worldview well enough, then I need to go back and study or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on an issue, and they'll be able to help me see that. So, but to your point, I don't see that a lot on the left. They typically want to yell and scream and run away. So.
Yeah, and that is, you were at the State House yesterday. We'll get into that, but here's one of your fans on there, Ryan Wilson. He future governor right there. Unless he's talking about me, and then I know he's fallen and hit his head.
I think he's talking about this guy right there. So.
No, that's you. Oh, you're over there. Okay. Yeah, I don't think. No, sir. No. Okay, that's but maybe you're young enough that my blood pressure's bad. It's don't know.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. That's flattering. I appreciate that. So.
Yeah, that's good. Well, hey, let's how you doing? I wanted to plug your show. You got Jesus, Sex, and Politics. Is that
Politics? Yeah. It's because of the 3 most important things in the world in that order. Jesus is first, sex is second, and then politics is third. It defines everything we do. It should define everything we do.
I've been in politics and I've been getting screwed ever since. So I don't know if the order's right on that. So
you got to have them in the right order. That really makes
that is
difference.
definitely
So,
true. It is, so
it's going well.
How do we catch that show?
So anywhere you find or listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, any place you can find your podcast, just type in Jesus, Sex, and Politics. It'll come up. It's my co-host is my fellow pastor here at Life Church, Nathan Peternell, and we're just we just love speaking truth, and we're actually going to be going out to the Turning Point Pastors Summit. Charlie Kirk asked us to come out and speak in California in a couple weeks, and so we'll be out there, kind of plugging Jesus, Sex, and Politics, but also just speaking on what it means to be a Christian and how to engage in the political environment. Because we really, if you go back and study history, there really is no wall of separation in church and state from the perspective of they both need to stay separate. Even Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that the church is the conscience of the state, and you can't have a moral people without a conscience that is built around something. You're going to have morality. It just depends on whose morality. And our founders knew that if it wasn't the morality of the Judeo-Christian ethic, then we're going to run into this tyrannical, oppressive, communistic kind of style of governance. And so they understood that. So they expected the church and pastors and Christians to be involved. It doesn't mean that everybody has to be a Christian. It just means that, hey, these are the moral principles, like don't murder people, don't lie, don't steal. I mean, the 10 Commandments, it works really well. And I heard somebody say that we're either going to be ruled by the 10 Commandments or we're going to be ruled by the 10,000 Commandments, essentially saying we're going to have 10,000 laws for the government to keep their thumb on us so that we do exactly what we're supposed to do. And that's not freedom and liberty. So, but you have to have a good, moral, decent people if you want to have freedom and liberty. So
I think you maybe want to put, you could take our tagline, Jesus, Sex, and Politics, a minty fresh take on Christianity. So really get Gary Varvel, draw you something up and everything. You'll be off to the races and all that. So, I can't wait to get this. So you're going to get some pushback tonight, I'm pretty sure, by pretty much everybody on the panel. I don't know. Maybe Tiffany will be nice to you, but I'll be there to protect you. Remember, we have that safe zone. We have that safe zone. If you just do the timeout if you can't take it, because I don't
know if I've ever actually gone to a safe zone. What is it? Do they have good refreshments there? I don't know what's in a safe zone.
It's bubble wrap and comforting music, elevator music. I don't know. I live life on the edge, my friend. I like a little, eat a little dirt every day to keep my immune system going. And, I go out and play in traffic, run with scissors, all those dangerous things. I even used a chainsaw the other day. It was great without safety protection. So,
hey, speaking of Gary Varvel, did he make your graphic? Is that looks like Gary Varvel? That's
great. That's awesome, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it was just like, I saw him at the John Jacobs rally, and I said, "Hey, Gary, why you whip me up a little graphic there for the show?" Because I got this is the other one, that I just stole that off the internet, and I knew if we got famous, somebody'd be coming to hunt me down and say, "Hey, you got to give me $55 for that logo," and I don't have $55, so I'm gonna have to get my own. So now we're branding away and all that. So I'll let you could even call up Gary. He'd probably help you out. He's fellow Christian and all that,
Gary's great. I love Gary.
He is solid, walk the talk guy. But anyway, so we're going to do this. We're going to do, let's do Peeps on the Streets here. Let me tell you, Peeps on the Streets are very interesting. So I went to the Heroes of America Freedom motorcycle ride. And you say, oh, this weekend, that was Saturday. You may have heard about this because there was bike wrecks on 70. One was in front of me and one was behind me. So a car, it was just sketched when we got started. Cars were coming out and we had some crash, a couple serious, 4 not so serious accidents. But I did the Peeps on the Streets out there before this. And I don't know, maybe one of the people that I interviewed was in the crowd. I don't know. It was just sort of interesting. And then I'm joining a motorcycle gang, Mike. Is that okay? And is that, as a pastor, is that okay? I mean, it's a club. I'm sorry, it's a club, not a gang.
It's all right, man. Jesus had a gang. There's 12 disciples. Called them his
apostles. Okay. I see that. So they ended up asking me to go to the Kitley Inn. So we went to a wedding out there. There's probably 200 people at this Kitley Inn. So I fit right in. but they like me. So that's good. So anyway, that's the long short story of Peeps on the Streets. So this will set up some of our questions. I think you'll enjoy this quite nicely. So here you go. Hi, this is John Schmitz for the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics and the fastest growing show on the internet. And I'm out here on the west side of Indianapolis at the American Legion, where we have the Helping Heroes of America bike ride. I'm actually going to do a bike ride around the whole 465 here with a bunch of my friends on motorcycles. So I'm out here doing the Peeps on the Streets. Let's see what they have to say a little bit about the government. Do you know what a supermajority is?
No.
Okay, a supermajority is when one political party controls both House and the Senate. Does that make more sense? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, you know, in Indiana we have a supermajority.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
It sucks.
Okay, yeah, if you're the other party, it does suck. Okay, do you think the government has the people's best interests in mind or their own interests?
Their own.
All right, thank you. Do you know what a supermajority is?
No.
All right. You know, in Indiana, we have one party that controls the House and the Senate, and that supermajority means they can do whatever they want.
Yes, indeed.
All right. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's always a bad idea when all the power rests in the hands of one party, regardless of which party it is.
All right. Final question. Do you think the government has your best interests in mind or their best interests in mind?
Their best interests.
Right, thank you. Do you know what a supermajority is?
A supermajority, yes.
Yeah. Do you know that we have a supermajority by one party here in Indiana? Do you know that we have that in the House and the Senate? One party controls that?
I did not know that.
You did not know that?
I did not.
So what do you think about that?
I'm more for equality, so like having more equal would be better for us than having just one majority thinking everything's right.
Yeah, so do you think the government has their best interests in mind or your best interests in mind?
Their best interest in mind.
All right, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. I'm hands away.
That's all right. Do you know what a supermajority is?
Yes.
All right, is that something to do with government like in Indiana? Do you know that Indiana has a supermajority in the House and the Senate?
I don't know.
You didn't know that? Okay, well, we have that here, and that's where one party will have control over the other party, and they can do pretty much whatever they want. Do you think that the government has our best interests in mind or their best interests in mind?
Theirs.
Do you know what a supermajority is?
Sure.
All right, are you familiar with the supermajority in the Indiana House and Senate here in the state?
I'm not familiar with them, but I know what it is, yes.
Know what it is. Do you think that the government has your best interests in mind or their best interests in mind?
Not mine.
Thanks. That's a wrap for Peeps on the Streets, and this has been paid for by the Schmitz House 97 Campaign Committee. I have to say that because I'll get in trouble because I got my little campaign shirt on here, so just want to be safe. So, hey, let's see what the panel has to say about the government. All right. Well, I almost had this thing right. StreamYard strikes again. There we go. That's what it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be down here. Ed's supposed to be up there. Okay, now we're good. That if we had a budget for this show, we'd have an engineer, and I wouldn't have to with my big thumbs have to push buttons. But there we are. So I'm gonna go top to bottom here. Ed, how you doing? You're not in the parking lot of Lowe's tonight. That's
I am not, and I got to tell you, John, I am crushed. I was crushed to find out that Dana Black and Mark Small are the only two lefties that ever talk on this show.
Yeah, wait a second, Ed. Wait, Ed. Wait a second. You can't come in the middle of the boat and say, hey, I'm at the front or the back. You are so middle of the boat. You're so warm and fuzzy. You're so blue dog Democrat. I can see that barking.
You've got too much logic, Ed. You've got too much logic up there.
Wait, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say you're too likable, but that would probably raise some fur somewhere. But that's all right. So, if you want to get thrown into that category, we'll do it. You are good in your position. It's just not as left as you think you are.
I was just backstage laughing when I was like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, what am I, chopped liver? Yeah, you are. So you gotta get a little more lefty. Maybe this is your chance tonight, Ed. just
No.
fire him out there at Micah from the left, and he won't even see him coming because he even knows you're warm and fuzzy. So he just won't even see it coming. He's
What happened
like
to
a kidney punch.
What happened to this conservative guy? Well, I thought he was a conservative. What the heck?
Oh my gosh! Now you're going to make him quit the show.
Oh no!
Look at Tiffany just going. Oh, you guys just go on and on. But Tiffany, she is definitely not the left, right, Tiffany?
No,
No.
it's funny. I had a debate with a friend on Facebook, and it's like, why is it because I'm brown? I have to really explain why and how I could be conservative. I mean, like, I feel like some people it's just like, you're brown. Of course you're not conservative. I'm like, well, why couldn't I be? Why couldn't I be?
Biden did remind everyone that you ain't black if you didn't vote for Biden. So I mean, that's what he said. Those are his words.
Yeah, I know, but couldn't he be wrong? I mean, like, but the thing is that
he's never wrong.
The concept that people can't have just like their own ideas and experiences, and really have a different set of values for functioning in the world. And that was really interesting because during the exchange, she's like, well, what does your religion have to do with anything? And I'm thinking, I'm Catholic. It has everything to do with a lot of stuff. And I know that she's Jewish, and I could just kind of feel how she was never going to understand why being a promise to keep volunteer at Cathedral High School was important to me, why teaching Sunday school was important to me, why helping women to understand that that pregnancy is not in the air. It's not an airborne illness, and that there are ways that you can prevent unexpected pregnancies by being a bit more chaste and very selective, and understanding that you have a future. And, when you get into these conversations with people, and if you say anything other than you should be able to have sex with anybody anytime you want because it's your body and do what you want to do and reproductive rights. I mean, if you say anything contrary to that, I mean, it's weird that young women don't understand how that way of living it's outside of some people's value system. I mean, how did we get here? I don't get it.
Yeah, it does seem like it's has a life of its own. So Lucy, I see you're did you do something wrong? So you put the brick wall up there for the guy that's the bricklayer, or you're not bricking the wall, or what? Usually you have some theme that you have back there. So
StreamYard. It's StreamYard. I don't know what it is, but this time all of my special photos were gone, and I didn't have time. I know, it was weird. So I had like this and that crazy condo looking thing, which nobody thinks.
Yeah, nobody would ever believe. So
no, I got too many kids. Like there's laundry everywhere. But I can answer Tiffany's question on how we got here. Just save it for the conspiracy theory, and I'll give you the resources where you can figure it out.
I think Bill Gates and Windows got your pictures. Just a guess. So.
And as you know, from now on, he is known as Bill Gates of Hell.
See, you got a special place in your heart, Daddy. So, but yeah. So yeah, we got the famous Micah Beckwith on our show here. So we're gonna start in with some questions. You, Micah, you've been down at the State House. Were you there today too, or?
Yeah.
And you were there yesterday, right? As well.
Right.
And and all that. Did you talk to any lawmakers, or what was? Let's give us a highlight and a low light.
Well, I think today was beautiful. I mean, it was about 1,200 to maybe 1,500 pro-life people that were down there. That was super peaceful in the air. I mean, just people were singing. I mean, at one point, the whole place broke out in "Jesus Loves the Little Children of the World," which was just, I mean, having 1,200 plus people singing that in the State House Rotunda was awesome. And so it was just an incredible time, and just letting our voices be heard, but respectfully, and just saying, hey, we value life, and we don't think we can have liberty in the pursuit of happiness if we don't first defend life. And so we need our lawmakers to step up to the plate and do what they've been telling us they were going to do for the last 50 years. And so that was I think that was the highlight. Yesterday was not that. Yesterday was very much the opposite. And I'm telling you what, listen, some people may not believe in angels and demons, but there were screeches going up in that building. Like it sounded like the gates of hell. You can say the Bill Gates of hell, Lucy, if you'd like to, but the gates of hell opened up, and it was just demons just screaming at the top of their lungs because they didn't have their child sacrifice, or they're being threatened to lose that. And if really, I believe there is a very real spiritual battle going on right now. And for generations, one thing that the devil has done, he's gone after the most innocent among society. And that starts with children. And so we've killed 65 million babies since Roe was legalized in 1973. The Nazis didn't even hold a candle to that. And so I think we're in a real struggle here, but it was very much light and darkness between yesterday and today. But I'm encouraged. I think I did talk to our lawmakers, and I think they're scared. I don't know why they're scared, but they're scared. And we're trying to give them the courage that they need to get in there and do what's right. And so I think they get scared of, the voice, like we were talking earlier, the loud vocal mob that comes, charging down the hallway. But I was there yesterday, and I'm telling you what, it's so much fun to pick on these lefties. I mean, like all they are is just empty threats and loud screams, and that's all it is. So, stand up to it. How do you beat off a bully? You stand up to a bully, right? And they're usually not as strong as they appear to be. So that was kind of my take on yesterday and today down at the State House.
Micah, why do you think they're scared? Why do you think some of the lawmakers are scared?
Well, again, because of the voices, like the really loud screaming, just the left saying, we're going to come at you, or we're going to threaten your family, or we're going to take our business away. If it's Salesforce or the NCAA, like, don't you dare do this. And what we need now is a Ron DeSantis to say, all right, just try it. Okay, business, you want to leave? You want to go to Illinois? Is that what you want to do? Okay, go for it. Well, why don't you try California? Like, they'll be back before they can even blink. And so we have a good business environment here. Call their bluff, right? When it comes to the verbal threats and the like threatening your life, just say, you want to come at me? I'm armed and dangerous, right? I carry for a reason, and I will put you down so fast. And typically, like, they don't know what to do with that. Like, they intimidate you with fear and this loud, but if you stand up to them, they'll back down. And I just keep seeing that. And so to our lawmakers, stand your ground, and you've got reinforcements. There's a lot more on our side than there is on theirs.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
What about some of the lawmakers in these purple areas? Do you think that reelection is the fear of not being reelected is looming for them?
Well, it depends. I mean, some of them have been endorsed by Right to Life in the past, and they've been really strong vocally, saying, I'm very pro-life. I'm very pro-life. And now the rubber meets the road. It's kind of like the dog who chases the car and then catches the car, doesn't know what to do, right? I think some of those. Yeah, I think some of those lawmakers are kind of in that position. But if they've been saying they're strongly pro-life for the last 10, 15, 20 years, however long they've been campaigning on that, they need to come through now, regardless of if it costs them votes at the polls or not. But I don't think it will. I think overwhelmingly we want leadership in Indiana, and the Republican Party lacks leadership. It should be Governor Holcomb out there doing this. I mean, like, it shouldn't have to be a lawmaker. We should have a Ron DeSantis governor saying, this is where the party's going. This is the bill that's going to be on my desk. Now get it done, and I'm going to sign it. If we had that leadership, that's how we get it done. But we don't have it in Holcomb. Holcomb is, he's a Democrat.
It's a little bit like a fumble, and nobody wants to pick up the ball.
That's right.
So Ed, here's your chance to kitty punch him. Just pow right in the kitty. Get him, Ed. What do you got?
Oh yeah, you totally know my style. Yeah,
yeah,
you definitely know my style. So
here comes
I'm just going to piggyback on that. I'm going to piggyback on that same. To me, there's also that edge of the Republicans. You hit it on the head. Like, having been a former Republican, that there were so many who were willing to take that badge of honor of, I'm pro-life. But never do that. Do you think some of those are even facing issues within their own party? Because, it's clear that once Trump came in and kind of made that an issue, whatever you want to say, whether you want to call them rhinos or whatever you want to call them. I'm not going to throw that name, but it seems like within the Republican Party, there's even a fight. This isn't necessarily they don't even have to depend on Democrats for a single vote on this, but it does seem like there is that tension within the Republican Party. Do you feel that at all?
Oh, that's a great question, Ed. Absolutely. I mean, it's right now within the Republican Party, there is this conservatives versus the rhinos, for a lack of a better term, or maybe we'll just call them moderates. A little bit more like left, center, right, or something like that. But I think we are a large tent party. I really do. But you have to remember, for the last 15 years, conservatives have been getting they've been told, shut up and sit down. We're a large tent party, which means we're bringing in all the leftist ideology, and conservatives have really just had enough. And I think that's where we're at right now. So there is a wave of conservatism that's taking over the party. And I think it came about because the left and the moderates overplayed their hand with the shutdown, with the vaccine mandates, with the mask mandates, with CRT in the schools. If they don't if Republicans, and I'm talking about moderates and conservatives, if those in leadership don't come through on life right now, I mean, this is like the one issue, like where we have raised millions upon millions of dollars for elections. We've knocked on millions of doors. We have carried these legislators across the finish line. And if they don't come through on this now, like this is a deal breaker. And you're going to see, I can't predict what you're going to see, but you're going to see some really like firm come to Jesus moments with these lawmakers. And so I think that's right. I think you are right on that, Ed. There is a fight within the party itself.
Yeah. Speaking of somebody who doesn't like either one of the parties, Lucy. Well, she likes her party, and that libertarians, they look better every day, don't they, Lucy, with all this shenanigans going on?
Well, it's interesting because the Libertarian Party has recently had a change in leadership to something that's known as the Mises Caucus, which tends to be much more pro-life, and actually they've been accused of a Republican takeover of the Libertarian Party. But I've got a few friends in the Mises Caucus, and for the most part, I think they're pretty fine people. The Libertarian Party has really tried to straddle this issue over the years by basically saying that, people in good faith, well-intentioned people can come down on either side of the issue. But what we all agree on is that government shouldn't pay for it. I'm a mother of 10 kids. I have 3 grandkids, and I'm going to come down on the side of our duty. Our sacred duty is to protect those who can't protect themselves. So I'm going to defend a 1-day-old baby before they're born, 1 day, after they're born. It's insane to me that the same people who are crying about 376 people wearing special costumes, the police, who couldn't manage to, break a door down to get in and save all of those children, turn around and want to kill children. It's insane. I don't know what to do. It's insane. But I'm part of the pro-libertarian or pro-life side of the Libertarian Party for sure.
Yeah, with 10 kids, that's difficult. You at least have the excuse too. But speaking of excuses, I see excuses for the pro-abortion people of it's not a baby, it's just a cluster of cells, it's a zygote, it's a fetus. To me, I don't know. What do you think about that, Matt? I think I know what you think about that, but expand on that a little bit. And then I want to hear from the panelists too, what they think about that terminology.
Yeah, I always ask them, okay, so when does life begin? I'll ask them that question because I just want to know. And it differs. Nobody can come down on a single point on the left. Like they don't. Some say it's the second trimester. Some say it's when they take their first breath. Some say third trimester, whatever it might be, but there's not a consensus there. And then I ask them, when is it okay to defend, or when does somebody have rights? When are those rights supposed to be protected by the government? There's an alienable right. And so that's what I ask them. And they'll say, well, when you're conscious, right? Like when you can actually begin to breathe, or you have thoughts and things of that nature. And I'll say, okay, what do you do about the people who are in, comas or don't have brain activity? I mean, do they lose their rights because of that? Or, if you want to say that a baby isn't a baby until it takes its first breath. Like, but have you ever seen an ultrasound of a 8-month-old baby? I mean, it's moving in the womb, or like an 8-month baby in the womb. It's sucking its thumb, it's smiling, it's grabbing its feet. I mean, how can you look at that and say that's not life? And so that's where I go. I usually ask them those questions, and I'm going to tell you, there is no common answer amongst the left. It varies, and so I think that tells me that they don't really have a good answer.
Yeah, so we'll start with Ed at the top. And what do you think about the terminology?
So for me, life starts at birth. And so when you're born, I do believe there's a living organism in there. But as far as life and personhood goes, for me, it starts at birth.
All right. Hey, now that you're going to be getting one of the brave
the crossfire.
Yeah,
man.
I think you did. Yeah, you're getting some points.
Yeah.
And I can't even believe he said that.
So Tiff, I mean, I don't want to. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make light of that, because that is, that is very arguable. I think one of the rabbis that testified, wasn't that his position? Now I want to know, Micah, do you know if he was a Messianic Jew or was he a Orthodox Jew? Do you know that?
I don't know about that one. I did talk to an Orthodox Jew today. It wasn't the same guy who testified, and he was very much pro-life.
Okay.
But I heard about the guy who testified, and I heard he was pro-abortion, and I'm thinking, bro, have you ever read the first 5 books of the Bible, or the scriptures, the Torah, the
Torah,
like
they call the Torah.
Yeah, like the God is very much saying that defend life. I mean, you even see that in Deuteronomy. He's like, he lays it out clear as day. And if you shed innocent blood if man sheds innocent blood, by man's hand will your blood be shed. I mean, God's very clear on that. And so again, but yeah, I don't want to go down that trail there, but want to give Tiffany a chance to respond to what Ed said.
Yeah.
So that she had some.
You can see the wheels turning, King.
Yeah,
you can see them; they're just going.
Ed, I love you, and I'm going to respect your thoughts and opinions. But I think that it kind of goes back to what Micah said, because people have all kinds of opinions about when life starts. And I've said before on the show that when I was pregnant with Michaela, it was just very, very important that I get to 24 weeks, because I knew that if something happened to me, or if something happened, that they could safely deliver her and she would have a really great chance of making it on her own as a preemie. So that was very, very important to me. I knew that there was life inside of me. And if I got her to 24 weeks and if something happened, she would probably be okay. Luckily, I carried her to 42 weeks. So yeah, she was a great big 10-pound baby. But Micah, what you said about people differing on when life starts, I just kind of go back to, it's like when you have sex with somebody, I mean, sex is 100% the way that people create life. And so when it just makes me crazy that people are like, oh my goodness, like when you have sex, you might get pregnant. Like, yeah, that's what happens. That's what we were designed to do when a man and a woman come together, when the gametes meet. There's this process called fertilization. That one great big strong sperm makes it to the egg and he gets inside, and then the shell changes and no other sperm can get inside, and then life starts and the cells start dividing. It attaches to the inside of the uterus and it just keeps going from there. I'm like, that's what happens when you have sex. I mean, the one of the consequences of sex is that you produce life. And I really feel like people are fundamentally differing on what causes pregnancy. And I'm telling you, aside from people who are victims of sex crimes, 99% of people are engaging in sex. And one of the things I think is really interesting when you talk to folks, and I love talking to young women about it. I'm like, well, are you even protecting yourself from what did we call them? STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. They call them something different now. But I'm like, the idea of like birth control, contraception, protecting yourself from disease. I mean, does that even come up? I mean, because I remember like in the 90s, I went to college. It was really big about preventing the spread of HIV. I'm like, don't young women want to protect themselves? And that's where a lot of this gets lost on me, because, we're having this conversation about abortion, but we're really skipping the conversation about having about protecting yourself, protecting your future, protecting your reproductive organs, and it's just really lost on me.
Well, to add to that, Tiffany, I think what you're hitting on is something that we've lost in our society, and that's personal responsibility. I mean, how often do we hear something? Well, it's not my fault, right? Like the government needs to help me, or like I've got like someone else is to blame. It's not me, and we have totally taught our children that there is no personal responsibility in life. You can blame it on somebody, you can cover it up, you can sweep it under the rug, and it will all go away. Right. And that's not life. I mean, that's not reality. I'm sorry. Like there's you own what you do. And to your point, Tiffany, when you have sex with somebody and you're not taking precautions, like, hey, you own that. Right. So if you don't want that, then take precautions. Maybe don't have sex with people that you don't want to have kids with. So,
exactly. If you don't want to be with somebody for probably the next 18 years, exchanging a child, begging for child support. I mean, that's what happens. And so one of the conversations that I had with my young person who is in college is about protecting herself, protecting her future. And then also young men need to understand the consequences too. In this culture where abortion has always been available in the background, people became pretty, irresponsible, pretty sloppy, but understanding that if a woman is going to carry a child to term, you do the DNA test, you establish paternity, and you go after him for child support. And what happens to that man is he's either going to pay child support or that bill is going to accumulate in the background of his life. And so whenever he does take a job, the state's going to take that money from him. Or he will have to work under the table for many, many years, never file a tax return because the government is going to pay that woman child support. So I just have to, it's just very important that number one, men know that you're in this and that there are mechanisms for women to receive the support that they need. And child support is never enough. It never makes up for not having a dad there. But the other part of that is too, is that, women, if you're going to have yourself, and find yourself having an unexpected pregnancy, that the majority of women who raise children on their own raise them in poverty. So you're making a choice. Having a child on your own is very, very difficult. I did it. Well, not necessarily. I raised Michaela Mamie on my own. I was married at the time, but it is difficult to raise a child. It is a commitment, and it's not a choice. It's a child. I just feel like there's so much to this conversation that people aren't having.
There is a lot of that. And, nobody wants to talk about the psychological damage that is done to a woman when she has mother instincts. You hear about postpartum and you hear about that. And, people don't realize that it's not just yelling at us either way at the state house. It actually has a psychological damage on there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of this and that. And, it is obviously a powder keg of emotion and all those. So Lucy, you've been sitting there. So we have Ed at birth, Tiffany at there. Where do you at conception? Where do you sit? Where do you stand on this?
Well, if I wanted to go all biblical on you, I would say that before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. And I would say, and my Mormon upbringing, which I don't agree with, from a biblical basis, well, because Mormons aren't biblical, they think they are, but we can do a whole show on that, is that they believe that God the Father and one of his thousands or millions of goddess wives had sex in the pre-existence, created you as a spirit being, and then, you got shoved down here on earth. So for me, yeah, it's definitely the science. It's definitely the sperm meeting the egg. But I'd like to point out something. We talk a lot about zygotes. We talk a lot about fetuses. People use a lot of terms for a developing being. And if I'm talking about people that are pro-choicers, I'm probably going to use my own descriptive terms like psychotics, murderers, narcissists. I mean, I can think of a few words that I probably shouldn't say because they're curse words. But if they'd like to speak about a baby in descriptive terms, I can speak about them in descriptive terms.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think some of that is justification. And we all know what justification is. It's justifying.
You have to
something
dehumanize people before you can democide, genocide, or flat out kill people in ovens. You have to dehumanize themselves first. You have to other them, which is the whole part of the cancel culture. So whenever you study, and a really great book, by the way, I think is Robert Cialdini's book, which is called Influence, the Science of Persuasion. And so you start to learn the psychological tactics behind this, behind social proof. You start to understand exactly why Twitter needs somewhere between 30 and 60% of its accounts to be absolutely fake. There's a narrative that is more profitable in this country, and that's the narrative that gets pushed. So yeah, I think it's still all about the money.
Hey, Lucy, your husband's got a comment on here.
It wouldn't be Tuesday night if he wasn't asking.
Where's my sandwich? Where's my sandwich?
Hey, we had like a Mexican taco bar at home tonight. I'm like trying to be the good mom cooking from scratch, but I will say.
Did you invite Jill Biden over for that?
Yeah, she'd be really surprised at this transparent, white, translucent woman making tacos with actual spices.
Ooh, salt and pepper tonight.
Oh, girl, I'll tell you what I actually use, and I'm just going to give a shout out to Corey Daniels, who has a vegan restaurant. He's a vegan chef. So if you go to foodarchitectindy.com, on Saturdays, you can go to AMP. If you don't know what AMP is, look it up. It's an amazing business incubator. Got all kinds of places to eat there. I use his Nana's all-purpose seasoning, alkaline seasoning on everything. It is phenomenal. And my current
everything.
Black beans, rice, and some Nana seasoning. It's the bomb. It is the bomb. But anyway, I should also mention that my current obsession is Jet Tila, T-I-L-A. So if you're not watching Jet Tila cooking videos, you are missing out.
All right.
After our prepper show last week, which was a big hit, by the way. Real quick, I don't want to forget to do another shameless plug. I'm going to put this right over Micah's face. Maybe. Oh, I didn't quite get him. But this weekend down at German Park. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Micah. Don't ruin my flyer. So you already photo bombed our peeps on the streets with Adam, and I think I lost that video. So you're lucky. But we have back to school picnic down on the south side, German Park. If you've never been to German Park on the south side, it's a great place. You know, we used to sneak in there and drink beer when we were under 21 back in the day. But don't tell anybody I said that. But we have 3 bands. All these schools are invited, and it's going to be a great time. Actually, I'm the MC over there, so that's how desperate they were. So that is my shameless plug for that. This weekend from 3 to I think the band started 3, 4:30 and 6. You can bring your own beverage in there. You bring a picnic. They got food trucks, all that wonderful stuff. I know it's too far for you to drive, Micah, but if you came down, it'd be great. You're probably on some CNN show or something arguing with them.
We have a similar event going on here in Fishers. It's like back to school night on Friday night. So I think it's probably the new popular thing.
Well, and they have that national night out too. So we generally do that. That's usually the first week in August, the first Tuesday in August, I do believe. So we're getting close to that. Can you believe it's already August? It's like, oh my gosh. The good news is my chickens that I had from the spring, they're getting ready to have eggs. Predicted to have eggs August 1st. So speaking of predictions, my prediction is we're going to go through this. We're going to predict what this bill is going to look like when it gets done. And Micah, we're going to start with you, and then I'm going to go up from Ed, Tiffany, and Lucy. And then I don't know if I'll give my prediction or not, but I may have something after I compile all of yours and I may copy off of you all and come up with a potpourri of predictions. So Micah, what's your prediction? How do you think this is going to roll down?
Man, that's tough. I hope that that it'll be there'll be strong enforcement mechanisms in the bill added in the second reading here when the bill goes to the floor, because right now there's no teeth to this bill. It's a 0-week ban, and there is rape and incest carve outs, and then life of the mother carve outs. I personally would like to see the rape and incest carve out gone. I think those people have value too, and we have an amazing story. I've heard story after story of children and women conceiving, people being conceived in rape, and God has redeemed those lives. And it was never his intention that any of that happened, but there's still goodness that can come from that if you let God do what God does. And so we have a young lady here. She's 18. She was conceived in rape. I mean, how do you look at her? And when I say here at our church, how can I look at her and say, hey, your life has no value in the eyes of the law? I mean, like that, I just can't do that. So, but I do think that there will probably still be a rape and incest carve out, and then there might be a timeline. I think maybe like 8 weeks. You have to if you're going to do it, you got to do it within 8 to 15 weeks there, the heartbeat kind of before there's a heartbeat. And so there's that. I would personally like to see if that happens, because I know that we need justice. I would love to see the man who raped a woman and that happened. I would love to see the hammer of justice come down really hard on that man. I think we need those types of laws to put fear in the hearts of people that want to do something like that. So, and then at least there's justice being served. We just can't not have justice. So that's where I'm at on those. But
yeah, well, and our guest, Lisa's guest last week, who invented the baby box, was a product of a violent rape. And she didn't find out till she was 37, because she went and tried to hunt down what it was. And she thought all those years that she was from two loving college kids that couldn't afford, and was put up for adoption. But no, and so we wouldn't have baby boxes today.
I mean, isn't that amazing?
If that was the choice. Yeah. I mean, you just never know, out of those 65 million babies, which one of them would have cured cancer?
If we say Albert Einstein is 1 in a million, we've killed 65 Albert Einsteins. I mean, we've killed 65 Steve Jobs. Think of what the world doesn't have because of who we've killed. And so to that point, and I just want to hit on real quick, when it comes to the life of the mother, a lot of people they say, well, what about in the case of the life of the mother? I don't see that as abortion. That to me is triage. That's not people pursuing death. You're not going into a situation saying, well, I want to get rid of this person. Right. You're going into it saying, gosh, this is a bad situation. Like, nobody wanted this. But on the battlefield, sometimes you have to look at one person versus another person and say, well, this person doesn't have a chance. This person does. We have to put our resources and our time into this person over here. And that's just life, unfortunately. So I don't even look at life of the mother as abortion like that. That's going to happen. Unfortunately, we live in a fallen world. And I think there should be exceptions for that, because I don't see that as abortion. I see that as trying to get the most life out of a bad situation.
Yeah. And didn't I see a sign down there that one of the pro-abortion people was carrying and saying, people are going to die because of, this. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on a second. What?
I saw
that's when you think that that it's a fetus, a clump of cells. That's when you can honestly say that, because you think people are going to die, and you're not saying that a baby is a people. Yeah. So, there's a lot of areas right there. So, which way did I say we were going on this prediction thing? We went Ed last time. Let's go Lucy first this time.
There's really a lot to unpack here.
So we got Micah. He's been talking about it for 2 days on all these shows, and he's like, we're going to enlighten us on it.
First of all, I should disclose to all of those who aren't yet aware that I'm a political cynic. And
what? Okay, wait a second. Stop the show. We had no idea. We're gonna have to replace you.
The Republicans need a lukewarm abortion bill, and they need an abortion bill without teeth so that they can pretend to defend life for the next 5 or 6 fundraising cycles. So don't anybody think that, rape, incest, life of the mother, none of that is going to go away. And we're not going to go after anybody who does them either, because all of those people serve a very important purpose in the Republican Party. And that is to be the straw man that causes people to open up their wallets.
And I'm going to say, Lucy, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, you could be very much right. I hope you're wrong, but I think you could be right.
Anybody that wants to kill their baby can go over to Illinois. I mean, it's going to happen. So I think we were waxing, we meaning all of you, not me. You were waxing a little poetic on the, we lost 65 Einsteins and we did this and we did that. We probably also lost a couple of Jeffrey Dahmers, just to be fair.
Yeah, yeah.
People are a mixed bag. Just because they got murdered in the room didn't mean that they were going to grow up to be good people either. Some of them would probably grow up to be pretty far left.
That's funny.
Yeah. What are you trying to say, Lucy? They're going to grow up to be Ed? I mean, now that he's so far left, all of a sudden he took offense.
I'm trying to say that people are so evil in this world that if there was a test in the amniotic fluid for those who are on the left, whether it's the left or the right spectrum, people would abort if they thought that their child, they're aborting babies that could be Down syndrome babies. And that's super sad. But, what's even sadder is, and I'm just going to give you my own, this is from my personal experience and from my actual life, we had 4 daughters, and I was desperate to know, pregnant with baby number 5, if it was going to be a boy. I'd never had an ultrasound before. I wasn't really for them. We went to have an ultrasound, and they found some anomalies, and they had me like really, really worried. They told me my son's head was really big, and especially relative to his femur, that it was probably, or could be, intrauterine growth retardation. And this was the beginning of the internet. This was 99, 2000. So I was able to, like look it up and all that kind of thing. I was really scared. Dorn wasn't scared. He said, look at my blockhead. He said, of course, my son is going to have a big head. And I'm like, I know. Go make me a sandwich. So before we got actually, I think I was just a victim of having super good insurance working at the phone company and having a nice, good paying job, because they sent us to a second ultrasound. So this is 99, 2000. It wasn't like the 3D things, but it was pretty darn cool. We could see, all 4 parts of, all the ventricles and everything. But here's the important part. And this is the part that I want to pick on St. Vincent's for, because it's supposed to be a Catholic hospital. We sat down, and the screening tests are wrong all the time. We sat down with a counselor. And so my husband, Dorn, and I were sitting there next to each other. I'm, about 5 months pregnant. So super excited that we're finally having, the air. And this woman says, well, and this is before we get the second ultrasound, so we don't know yet that he's normal. She said, sometimes in these situations, you find out news that you just really rather not have. And I want to let you know all of your options are open. And I said, what, like have an abortion and kill my baby? She said, yes, every option is open to you. And my husband said, well, I'm going to take the option and I'm going to abort you before I abort my baby.
Wow.
That sounds like Dorn.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did she say when he said that?
She looked shocked, like, oh my goodness, let me clutch my pearls. I can't believe that I just offered to murder your unborn child, the male heir of your family that you've eagerly awaited, and somehow I've offended you. She actually just got up and walked out. Which is
good for Dorn.
Kid ended up having a bucket head. Is that about what it is?
He's now 6'5".
Yeah.
And he loves his mommy. Every time
we had that same thing, that same sort of thing, because we had kids when we were a little bit older, and they start talking about 35, 36, you could have problems, and they want to get you, scare you. I don't get that, but everything was fine too. So Tiffany, what is your Lucy? You gave the prediction in a story? Is that right? What was your prediction as far as
my prediction is that nothing will substantially change, because the Republicans are desperate to have a straw man to fundraise against.
Okay, well, Tiffany, I mean, you got Senator Walker up there. He came out. I look at it. She's fine. I don't have to say anything more. Go ahead.
No, he took some heat for his position. I think that the final bill will go probably out to 6 or 8 weeks. And there'll be a carve out for rape and incest. I do like what Micah said about punishing people. So the thing about rape and incest, it means that people are going to have to file charges. And I think oftentimes in cases of incest, families usually just kind of sweep that back into the closet and under the carpet. And they're not usually going to bring so-and-so up on charges or pursue that in the legal system. And I also think on a lot of these college campuses, it's going to really hurt some of this rape culture. If you had a chance, you remember October of last year down at IU, they stopped the social activities because there had been so many assaults on female students. So I think this, the new abortion law, Roe v. Wade being overturned, it is going to have ramifications in our society. We are going to have to expand contraception to people. It's probably going to have to be free. Look at what they did in the gay community around understanding how HIV is spread. I mean, you'd go to any gay bar, any event that was sponsored, and contraception is everywhere. So I do think that society is going to have to change the same way we changed 50 years ago when abortion became an option. We're going to have to shift, change in mindset, change in opportunities. Even before the show, I was reading some of the other bills that are out there. And I think the House bill, in the House, there are carve outs. There's a bill that talks about things with families and children, various matters pertaining to children. And there is language in there around expanding access to contraceptions for people, regardless of income. So I do kind of feel like one of the things I always challenge my party is we're pro-life, let's be pro-living. So I do think that they're trying to understand that if women are going to carry children to term, that we do have to have some wraparound services for them. So I'm excited to see how this abortion law comes together and what other things come around it to make it more livable for people.
All right.
So
Yeah,
6 to 8 weeks, carve out for rape and incest, and then hopefully some more language around prosecuting people.
Okay, I like that. Okay, Ed, what's your dream bill look like? And you're on mute, by the way. You're on mute, Ed. Ed, you're on mute.
I'm not getting my dream bill. I'm a Democrat in Indiana, so that's not happening. But
well, just play along with us now that you're so far left.
But
taxes are low.
But no, look, I got a question for Micah, and this is a serious question, and it goes to the heart of what Lucy's talking about. You had so many of these other states that had trigger laws in place, stuff that was in place the moment that happened, and we didn't have that here in Indiana, and now we're having to scramble in this thrown together session that wasn't originally for this to begin with. And so I have a hard time not agreeing with Lucy on this, but part of it has to do with the fact that there wasn't anything even in place before this. Like, so could you kind of touch on that?
You know, you're dead right. And I mean, like we brought that up multiple times during the session saying, guys, Roe could be overturned. This was after, we were hearing, and then I think the leak came out and they were still kind of in session. They could have put trigger language in. I know Kathy Humbarger, who is a big right to life advocate in Indiana, she was petitioning like time and time again, like get some trigger language. Don't close this session out without having something in place. And they didn't do it. And I think probably to your point, Ed, and to Lucy's point, I think it's probably because a lot of them really aren't very pro-life. They've just been using pro-life to raise a lot of money. And I think that's what ticks me off as a Republican more than anything. Listen, I have a lot of respect for Democrats who just come out and say, hey, I'm not pro-life at all, or this is where I stand. And I disagree with you, but boy, I respect that you know where you stand. What I don't have respect for is for someone lying bold-faced to me just to get me to do something that they think like they're tickling my ears. That really grinds my gears. And so that's what probably is happening here. And I don't, because they would have done a trigger law if they really were like, oh man, this could be the time. Like, yes, let's do this. Like, we're pro-life, we're defenders of life, and from conception to natural death, let's do this. They would have done it. But again, it goes back to Holcomb, like really bad leader, very like he's one of the worst governors in the United States right now, in my opinion. And it's because he's not going to take a lead on it because he's not really pro-life. He's just run on the backs of pro-life, people his whole career, because that's how he can raise money and get elected. And so I don't disagree with you, Ed. I think you're probably, unfortunately, you're probably right.
Yeah, this is sort of reminds me of the RIFTA, how poorly that was handled. Signing it behind closed doors, sort of, And honestly, look at RIFTA. What's 10? How many years? 15? Well, how old? It's old, and it really has made no difference in almost anything. Just a lot of people got mad, and my thing with this is, I'm with Tiffany on this. After somebody is alive, how do we take care of people like, foster, we just have a lot of issues with our people that are living, with the criminal justice systems that's unfair, that puts people in a system and it's like slavery. They cannot get out of it. And I'm in construction and I hire people that have been incarcerated, addicts, whatever people might say, the dregs of our society. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with those folks. They just need some guidance and an opportunity and somebody to believe in them. It's not for the meek, because they don't all succeed. But when you do find a way for somebody to have an opportunity and give them that opportunity, it's a very good feeling. But on this, I think on this bill, how this is going to land down, they're going to carve out the, the mother's life, the incest, the rape. That's going to be carved out on it. I don't know if they're going to get to 15 weeks. I'm going to say it's going to come down to 8 weeks. I don't think they're going to do a total ban on it. That's what I think, that they're just not going to do that on this thing. I think that honestly, we would survive if they did a total ban, because I think folks, as Tiffany would said, they're going to take more precaution and be more careful, at least for a while, and and that type of thing. But one of the things I would like to see is, even our fine Governor Pence said that it shouldn't cost $30,000 to $40,000 to adopt a child. We have to loosen up those laws, not make it so easy that anybody can just like go buy a child or whatever, but so that they can get placed a lot easier without the headaches. I mean, we're doing the foster care stuff right now, and there's a lot of questions. You got to answer a lot of questions, but they don't want some psycho taking foster kids into another situation. So I would like to see other stuff on the other side, and that'd be nice if they were to do that. But I think this is going to be around 8 weeks. It's going to be the carve out, and that's what it's going to end up looking like. But hey, there's, as they say in golf, there's a lot of holes to play left on this one. It's a lot. Okay, go ahead, Tiffany. Then Micah, will come back to you, and then we're going to go on to the next segment of the conspiracy theory.
My favorite. So the other thing is, if you get a chance to read the bills that are out there, in the abortion bill, there's some lines in there about defining infanticide, not prosecuting women who seek abortion, and then also not prosecuting doctors, something like that. Don't quote me, but there's some additional language around prosecuting people and not prosecuting people. And then, John, to your point around adoption, and one of the other bills, I think it's one that there's a couple of bills out there that are really kind of pro-family. There's also like adjusting the family household earnings so that people can take the tax credit for adopting babies. So I do think that people are listening. When I was in the Lugar series, we all had to give a speech, and my speech was about family zones and hoping that we could use legislation that could create a space in Indiana where it would just be easier on people to choose to be families, choose for a man and woman to marry, to create that traditional household, raise children, tax advantages, things that we can easily craft with legislation, just to the same way you have like business zones and economic zones and opportunity zones, really trying to work and create family zones. So if you look at this session in whole, I think that there are some steps in the right direction to being pro-family.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Micah, I don't know if you got like church in the morning or anything. I mean, I teach spin class at LA Fitness at 5:45 a.m. tomorrow, but I've been reminded by several of our viewers and Lucy that we didn't do Mark Small Talk. So we're going to do that. We're going to spend a little more time. Is that okay, Micah? You got a few minutes?
Fine. And hey, just to wrap up this segment, can I just add one more thing to this abortion talk?
We're holding you now.
Okay. So it's good. I would like to see Right to Life, and Mike Victor, he kind of mentioned that this could possibly happen. He's the CEO of Right to Life. Right to Life is a huge lobbying organization in Indiana. I mean, they have a lot of power, and he did say that there's going to be consequences for legislators that don't follow through with a strong pro-life stance and fight for a strong pro-life bill. And I was talking to somebody in Indiana Right to Life today, and I said, I think what Right to Life needs to do is not only will they not endorse people going forward, they should go back and unendorse those that have dropped the ball. I think that, and then put out a statement, put out a press release saying here are the unendorsements. Here are all the people that we are pulling our endorsements from. We no longer support them as being strong pro-life advocates. And that would, I mean, and then he needs to say he's going to do that if they don't give us a good bill. He needs to threaten them with that. Because if that would be so damning in a lot of ways. I mean, like if he sent out a press release with an unendorsement list, I mean, it would send shockwaves across Indiana, the political spectrum, and I think that would go a long way. So that's what I'm really encouraging the Right to Life to do. If this doesn't
well,
go
and taking that cash away too. But Attorney Jim Bopp, wrote a scathing piece about folks like you're talking about, the Right to Life people, and it says wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what it's titled. I haven't really got to, I really couldn't read all that lawyer gobbledygook because, the phrase Johnny can't read is made up for me. But he was none too fond of their position and their lack of backbone with this. So that would be interesting if they did that, Micah. I would be surprised about that. So, hey, we didn't even talk about the supermajority. So we're going to, Mark Smart. Yeah, this is what happens when you get too involved in the show and you forget you're supposed to be doing stuff. So let's listen to Mark Small and Dorn, the cats. I had a conversation with Mark about the cats that they need to make an appearance because Mark's got 3 cats that when they were kittens, they would jump on the keyboard when he was talking. And now we haven't seen him for a couple episodes. So we're wondering, I have a saying that it's
does he eat Asian food? Just wondering.
Yeah, there we go. See, this is how stuff gets started and it goes bad. And the next thing Pete is boycotting our show and we're canceled. So, we gotta be careful with that. But this is like, herding cats on the back of turtles chasing butterflies sometimes on this show. So let's go ahead and I think I got it here. There. Mark Small talk. Here it is. Here we go. Sorry, no cats, but maybe next time.
Hi, this is Mark Small Talk, July 26, 2022. This is Mick Jagger's birthday. I know that because I was in Bloomington, Indiana on July 26, 1975, when the Stones were playing there, and everybody's talking about how it was Mick Jagger's birthday. He's the wealthiest former alum of the London School of Economics, as far as I know. There's a special session of the Indiana General Assembly this week, and people either don't know or don't care. Now, why would they not care? It's because you got a supermajority in both houses of the Republican Party because of gerrymandering, and they'll push through anything that they want and then just say to hell with everybody else, and that's about it. And it's not even, think about the Republican Party. Well, the Republican Party is standing up for us. No, it's a corporate entity. John Jacobs, I don't agree with his politics, but when the party lines people up so that they can take him out, spends a whole bunch of money to do that, I don't really know that we're doing very much for the principles of democratic ideals. People don't know, they don't care. They don't care, but how do they not know? Because we don't have the press anymore. The newspaper here in this city is good for aligning bird cages if you have a bird, or to start your grill if you have a regular charcoal grill, but it really doesn't have local news. And that's one thing that we're missing in our society as a whole. Here in Indianapolis, Gary Welch had Advance Indiana. He was on top of a lot of things in local politics. I disagreed with Gary on a lot of different stuff. When it came to local issues, he was really good at that. It takes money to be able to produce that kind of journalism, and people aren't spending the money in the same way that they used to, so that a newspaper or anything journalistically can cover something as important as the Indiana General Assembly. So maybe we can go to having just monitors like on, the traffic lights and parking lots around the General Assembly to see who goes out to bands during the session when they're just taking breaks. Hey, go to a local bar, see what people are doing at 3 a.m. But otherwise, people don't know and they don't care, and we've got to resolve that somehow. It's Mark Small Talk, July 26, 2022. Catch me on Civil Discourse Now almost every day. And it's on YouTube too. Peace, love, happiness, freedom. Nanu. The cat was on earlier.
Yeah, he had to do 3 takes. So he told me, well, one of those takes had a cat in it, but now, and honestly, if I were a cat, I would want to be Mark Small's cat, because his last 2 cats, I think they lived to 17 and 19 and literally had funerals for them when they passed. So that's when he got the 3 kittens, reclaimed them, whatever, you go rescue them, I guess. And they were all over the place last time. So they must be sleeping during the day. They must be taking a cat nap. But yeah, we're talking about gerrymandering. I mean, this is how do we got a super majority in it? And it's so super that you literally can call your own party, so to speak, with this way. So what's your thoughts on that? How do we fix it? One thing, but because it's both parties do it. I mean, it's, the council just did it here in Indianapolis because they're Democrat, and then the Republicans just divided up the House. Unfortunately, I think they divided it up enough that they got rid of the people that they wanted to get rid of in their own party. It was sort of cannibalism on their own people. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think that there's not always this intention to gerrymander the way that some people think. It's really hard to get districts to align. I mean, there has to be a certain number of people. They have to meet certain demographics. If you put some in one district, it affects all the other districts. And so it's really a tricky strategy. Now, I do think there are some times that they do gerrymander. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but just to say like, oh my gosh, you have a supermajority and that's because of gerrymandering. No, not necessarily. I think a lot of it is because the left has gone so like off the cliff of stupid. I mean, Democrats are just, I mean, listen, this is not the Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy. Okay, John F. Kennedy would be a right-wing conservative. I mean, he fought against the communists, and now his party wants to be the communists. So let's just be honest about this. Like, the Democrats are going down an anti-American path, and I think people like blue collar, blue dog Democrats are waking up and saying, "Geez, okay, I don't agree with like everything the Republican Party stands for, but they're a heck of a lot more on my side than the Democrats are." And so I think if you want to see not a supermajority Republican Party in Indiana, the Democrats have to come back to a little bit of a place of logic and reason. And I don't see them doing that anytime soon. I mean, the people who are logical and reasonable in the Democrat Party, even like the Bill Maher's of the world, are getting ostracized and attacked for speaking their mind. And so, Ed, I don't know how you're still alive sometimes, I mean, I feel like you have a pretty reasonable approach to life. And so, I think at some point they're going to come for you. I just want you to
Oh, let them try. Let them try.
Yeah,
that's well, I got a quick question for you because we like to put up our audience things here. And so Thor, I think Thor is a libertarian. I'm not sure. I think he's an independent or a libertarian. Lucy, can you speak to that? Is he libertarian?
I refuse to put words in somebody else's mouth because I've got all my own I want to spew upon you.
Okay, well, he asked why they target John and Kurt. I think you have an idea. Can you elaborate on that, Micah?
No, they totally did. I mean, and I called them out for it. So here, Kyle Hupford, the chairman of the party, got up at the state convention and scolded us delegates for calling people rhinos. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, he's saying, we want to be a unified party. Everyone's welcome to be a Republican. We support all Republicans, which first of all, is stupid. Like that means you have no standards, right? You got to have some standards to say you're in this house here, you're in this tent. But then I was thinking the whole time while he was saying that, I was like, didn't you guys just spend $800,000 to go after John and Kurt? Like, oh yeah, you did. And you redistricted and you drew them into districts that were going to be specifically hard for them to win. So they tell you in one side of their mouth, don't you dare criticize the Holcombs of the world. How dare you? You're not a good Republican if you criticize them. But yet then they go around and do stuff like what they did to John and Kurt. So they're totally speaking out of both sides of their mouth. And again, I call that out all the time. That ticks me off to no end. I want honest debate. I want iron sharpening iron. I want critical feedback. We should be pounding the table as Republicans saying, no, this is the best way. No, this is the best way. And at the end of the day, we're going to be stronger for it. And if you can't stand up, like we said earlier, if you can't defend your point of view, you have no business sitting at the table. So learn your point of view and yeah, come at you. So
Mike, I love what you're saying. I think that in order for us to truly have that debate where every Republican is welcomed, I mean, we've got to get probably some term limits, because I think at the end of the day, re-election looms in the back of so many people's heads that it's like, do I stay the course or do I pander to the masses? And I think that I think some term limits are probably best, just so that we can really get people in roles that aren't afraid of driving home their values and having them impact their decision making and not being so tied to the people who give them money. It's like once you're into probably your third, fourth term, I mean, like, do you have the confidence to can I trust that your values aren't shifting? Can I trust that special interest groups don't have you? So I think that that's something that's important to consider, is term limits. But then also, as you were talking, about, you know, having standards for the Republican Party and talking about this party is for everybody, you missed one of the things that happened with the two primary rule. They slid that one in there too as a way to separate the sheep and the goats. So you missed that one.
That's
so
right.
I
I mean, they're pulling some real shady stuff on us, and I totally agree with that. Then now to the primary thing, you know, John and Kurt would actually disagree with you, Tiffany. They would say that we shouldn't have term limits because the voting is the term limits. But I get where you're coming from. It's an incumbent has a 90% more likelihood of winning a race just because they're the incumbent. Like that's just the stats around the country. And so
yeah, but think about like that new candidate running against an incumbent. It's like money, establishment, name, the brand, and then really having people that represent changing demographics in a community. Maybe there's been an age shift. I mean, I just think that term limits are important just so that people can stand up. It's kind of like what you were saying about being pro-life. I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life. It's like, well, okay, now's your opportunity. How pro-life are you really now that there's no barriers to really being pro-life and having that permeate all the legislation that you write and how we affect the laws in our state. So I do think that people can be hampered, handicapped, third-legged, I don't know, you know, ball and chain by the need to get elected again, because it becomes your persona. It's who you are. It's your brand. It's how part of your income comes. It's how people interact with you, and it becomes part of you. And so it's the ego thing, you know, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just how people are. You know, it becomes part of you and how you present in society. So I think that re-election has a lot to do with what people do. And it's not a bad thing. It just has to be acknowledged.
I'm going to jump on Lucy's side on this argument for a minute, though. In my bathroom right now, I have a mailer from Linda Rogers, who is my state senator, that gets paid for, and she gets to do her promotion of rah, rah, rah. This is what we've been doing. And I'm like, Lucy will say it time and time again, we shouldn't be paying for people's campaign stuff. And that is, to me, exactly what it is. And the other thing that's laughable to me as I was thinking about this conversation, if I were to go pull that mailer is all about how we are so bipartisan. Like everything is bipartisan and we are bipartisan. And I'm laughing because just this conversation we're having, and I'm like, why are you trying to pander here? So it's just my 2 cents there.
Yeah. And it's Indiana. It's like, you know, your conservatives. I mean, like everybody's got to kind of fit to the middle. You know, most of us, you know, your Democrats are just more conservative and understanding that as people come and move to our states, that certain areas are changing. You know, Hamilton County is becoming more purple, Carmel's becoming more purple, and elected officials are having to shift just a little bit in their thoughts and what they express. But should the demographics change the candidate, or should the candidate hold fast to their values?
Well, you know, here's a novel idea for you. How about if you're a representative, you represent the people, and you know, we can actually do a pretty quick polling on a lot of this stuff. I mean, you don't really see. I really don't think we'd have to have so many people down at the state house if their representative and senator would pick up the daggone phone. You know, I wish I could tell you how many times I've asked messages to my representative. I have not spoken to him in 5 years. I have talked to his legislative aides several times, and not as much as of a courtesy of a phone call back. And to me, it's like, you know I'm chopped liver over in Marsville, you know, who cares? But to me, pick up the phone, and people don't have to come down and chant in the state house because they're going to be represented by the representative. That's a novel idea. I think it's even in the title, representative, isn't it?
I'll disagree with that just a little bit, John, and that may be, you may be shocked to hear me say this, but like I actually don't think, I don't think actually people who get elected to office should be listening to their constituents based on polling once they're in office. And I know you're going to say, whoa, wait, that sounds like backwards. I think that's kind of how we got into this mess. So you elect somebody because they say, this is who I am. These are my principles. Here's my core values. This is how I make my decisions. This is what I believe in, right? Okay, we vote for you on that criteria that you laid out. And then what we expect you to go into office and do exactly what you just told us you were going to do. And I don't want you taking a political poll and like, where are the political winds blowing? And literally someone told Mike Victor the other day, the head of Right to Life, they said, well, because he called him, he said, hey, you're not really sounding super pro-life. And they said, well, Mike, I know I've been pretty strong pro-life up to this point, but that was my own personal belief. I'm finding out that my district is not really that pro-life. And so I kind of have to represent my district. And he's like, that's not how this works, buddy. You get in there and you do what you told us you're going to do. And if your district doesn't like it, or if your district is changing, guess what? There's going to be another election in 2 years or 4 years from now, and they can vote somebody else in. So the problem is we have legislators that are constantly taking polls on issues that they should already know what they're going to do based on what they told us they were going to do when we elected them.
Well, thanks for making me feel like a liberal.
Hey, well, I'm going to jump in and say, are you going to support me? With Micah on, I totally agree with Micah on that. I'm on Micah, and I'm in a losing side of the party, and I'm like, hey, I'm sticking with my beliefs, what I believe in, and I wasn't going to go for just saying what needed to get said to get elected. Like I was sticking by my guns, and I wish more people in politics would do that. I think that's the slimy side, is when you are constantly trying to find your way to where the people are.
Yeah. Okay. So apparently I was the only one that's, I'm going to put a disclaimer on there. I just was putting that out there for discussion purposes because since it was so unpopular, I feel a little bit like Mark Small.
I'm glad you said that, though, because that is a really common thing I hear all the time is like, you guys have to represent me in the district. The district's this way. And I always push back. I always say, no, guys, like, that's not how this works. Like, we voted them in based on their core values. And now let them go down and do what their core values are. So I'm glad you brought that up, because most people in politics or just in the general public will think that. They'll think, oh, well, they need to represent me in the district. And if the district's changing tomorrow, if the district changes like this tomorrow, then they better follow us, right? And that's not how it goes. So I'm glad actually you brought that up.
I'm changing the subject since I did so well on that topic. So we are slowly marching our way to the record show here, Mike, and it's nobody fitting. Hour 32 is our record, and we're really getting close. And we got conspiracy theory coming out.
It's like a Jerry Lewis telethon.
Yeah, it is. It's like we just
take off your ties, like
Jerry Lewis.
It's like, hey, lady, I stepped on your baby. That was my best Jerry Lewis invitation there, or whatever. So, all right, hey, we're get your tinfoil hats ready to go, because it's time to.
So this where we put something funny on. I mean, it's just like I don't.
Like you're doing this. You're not getting out. You won't be on the hot seat anymore. You'll be out. You'll be like one of us. But yeah, this is where we put on our tinfoil.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta think of here. So
hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory. So you better get your tinfoil hat out and let's see what's going on this week.
Okay. Oh dear. There we go. Tiffany, you didn't see.
Perfect.
Well done.
That's that. You may win the conspiracy theory for this year. So, but I don't know if you're going to be as good as the birds that
I
Ashton
love Trump's
did.
eye bags. It's his Trump's eye bags show that his kidney has problems.
Yeah. Does he got a black eye, Micah? Is that Trump with a black eye? Or does he got the bags on his eyes or whatever? So.
It's not the most flattering picture of him, that's for sure. But yeah.
It resembles. It resembles. So I'm sure that'll be some of the two lefties that watch this show, or their heads will be spinning. So. China. So okay, well, this is we've made it to that time, and we're definitely going to get the record for the show time here. That's awesome. But it's been a very good discussion, so I will get at that. And I should have stopped the show before I was chastised about my stupid comment about representation, but I'll get over it in about a week or two. So Ed, let's go with you, Mr. Spirit Airlines spokesman.
You'll be surprised to learn that Ed actually doesn't have a conspiracy theory this week. this little thing here is I'm trying to catch some conspiracy theories. So if anybody's got some, send them my way. I will say football, NFL camps are opening up soon. It's not really a conspiracy theory, but since I'm on the left, I'm going to go ahead and start out by canceling the Dallas Cowboys, not because they did anything politically incorrect, just because they suck. And that's all I got for this week.
Well, you could at least said, "Oh, Brett Favre's coming back out of retirement." I mean, come on, you could do that in maybe a cheesehead or something. I mean, are you a Packers fan at all, Ed? Are you a Packers fan?
And Brett Favre is right up there with Bill Gates in my book. So yeah.
Oh yeah, so
Brett Favre is my
Bill Gates of
yes.
football. Okay, yep. I got. Whoo, boy, it's a tough crowd here. So Tiffany, what do you got for us tonight? Yeah, it's your turn.
Just a update on Bigfoot. Have not found any Bigfoots. I found some medium foots, but really it's just a catch and release operation right now. There's just nothing is sticking. Ed, you're so fun. Just catch and release right now. Just a lot of catch and release. So
catch and release. So it's
keep
all
me in
good.
your prayers.
No Tinder experiences or anything like that. But I heard that Bigfoot was down at the Capitol yesterday, protesting for something. I don't know, maybe for I don't know what it is. All right, Lucy.
So,
I know
wait. So I am actively looking for a tenderoni. So yeah, that's what
tenderoni.
We're call
Okay, that's what you call that. Okay, I don't know nothing about that stuff. It's like, okay, go ahead, Lucy. I see you were making notes in the private chat there, and I was like, what is she
I was, because I've got so much on this conspiracy theory that I didn't want to lose anything. I think the biggest conspiracy of all, and I'm going to say straight out, Bill Gates of Hell is not involved in this one because it predates him. I know, shocking. Maybe it's even a conspiracy that Bill Gates of Hell is not in this one. But I want to talk about the real conspiracy that's lived out every day in our state house and in political halls around our country. And that is this conspiracy of Democrats and Republicans working together to make you think that they are different when in fact they're actually the same. We play good cop, we play bad cop. It doesn't matter whether you vote red or whether you vote blue, we still march down towards tyranny. The best short example that I can give to explain this was actually a cartoon that's currently being made into a movie by the name of The Jones Plantation by Larkin Rose. So please go to YouTube and simply put in Jones Plantation, Larkin, Larken Rose. He also wrote a book called The Most Dangerous Superstition, great book. But, even to what Micah said with the Right to Life CEO demonstrating and threatening to pull his financial support from certain Republicans who weren't going his way is just indicative of the larger problem, which is that you can't expect people to do the right thing. You can pay them to do the right thing. You can threaten them that unless they do the right thing, you won't pay them. But then on the other side of the token, you can actually pay them to do the wrong thing. So, clearly with the Democrats and the Republicans working together, what hope do we have to create the ultimate family zone? Tiffany wants a family zone. I absolutely agree. And let's talk about why we don't have family zones. It's because taxation is theft. And let me give you an example of the ultimate family zone. The ultimate family zone would be only the taxes limited to the Constitution for the very slim government that should exist. And those would be apportioned just like the federal government says. And then, what would happen is we wouldn't have property taxes on our property. So we could create the ultimate family zone by taking the family farm and not losing it from one generation to the next to be sold to pay the tax bill. So you want to create the ultimate family zone, then you got to stop the taxes. And I've got to really give out props to my buddies, Kurt and John Jacob, because they're living out their beliefs in spite of the lack of financial support. Maybe in spite of it altogether. They're the only ones that I see that are actually living their spiritual beliefs, regardless of the money involved. But at the end of the day, and this is the underpinning of the whole conspiracy, the only job of an elected official is to get reelected.
Yeah, that does seem to be that. It's like rain on the scarecrow for the farms and whatnot. We've seen that over the years. So, Micah, you're up, the Donald. You're up with your conspiracy. Is it going to be about January 6th?
Well, I think January 6th is a conspiracy in itself, but no, that's not what I was going to talk about here. I was going to talk about that I think that Rob Kendall and Eric Holcomb are working together. And so
that goes right along with what Lucy just said. I love the segue.
I think that they know that it's good for both of their public image if they work together. And I heard that Rob was over in Davos with Eric, and hanging out in his hotel room, and they were strategizing how to fool us Hoosiers. So Rob's a good friend of mine. I'm gonna ask him about that next time I see
ask him if
so.
Dorn says he's the first husband of the governor. I'll tell you this, make a sandwich, Dorn, and settle down. You're killing me. But that would be definitely a conspiracy. Well, I actually have a good one right now. I have actually a real one that's speculation, and I've been hunting it down. But so we got a mayor's race coming up here in Marion County next year, and I'm thinking I'm going to go really early onto this. I'm thinking that Ryan Vaughn is going to be the GOP pick, and I didn't think that till earlier this week. I heard a report that I said, "Who in the world would quit a nice, cushy COO job at the sports corp, where you get to go to all the games and all that stuff? Well, I guess you get to go if you're the mayor." And who would quit that job to do anything else, to run for mayor? Well, guess who resigned July 1st from his job at the sports corp? Ryan Vaughn. Now, I asked the county chair, I sent him an email. Of course, this is my earlier problem, is like nobody ever picks up a phone or ever answers you back to confirm or deny this. And he did not. So I'm rolling with it. So my prediction is that Ryan Vaughn will be running for mayor against Joe Hogsett more than likely next year. So I like them apples. Tiffany's awesome. Like, what? You don't think? Am I wrong again? 2 times in a row. Not everybody at once.
I like this.
No, you're right. You're right.
All right. What? But yeah, a good note. So
you cannot go wrong in conspiracy theory.
Okay, good. Because I guess I was trying to be conspirafact. I was taking a picture out of the here. Wait, now here's hey, wait a second. Here's one for you, Tiffany. This is, you said Thor said he'd be your tenderoni. Isn't that sweet? You got a fan. You got a fan out there. And then so hey, maybe we could do this. Maybe me for mayor and Micah for governor. We'd turn this thing around in a second on a dime, right?
And we're both getting Trump endorsements.
Yeah.
So at least from this guy. So
yeah, that guy. Yeah. Actually, you could laugh, but I had somebody say that I could probably get that if I really wanted it. I don't know if that would help me in District 97. I would probably be tarred and feathered and then pitchforked and then thrown in the White River. But I would probably still be alive, maybe. So that's that. So hey, it is official. We have gone over the record by 5 or 6 minutes of the show, and I want to see, how did you do that? Was that like a green screen, or was that an actual? What was that thing?
I don't know, man. You're gonna have to. You're gonna see.
Conspiracy in its own side. We got a conspiracy about the conspiracy. Ooh. So join us next week. I think we got a topic. I thought we were talking about a topic. It's something to do with I don't know, something. You'll just have to tune in and find out. And so catch Micah on Jesus, Sex, and Politics, a minty fresh take on Christianity. I just sort of threw that in there on my own. You don't have to use it. So, all right, everybody, let's sign off. We had a good lively chat tonight, a good lively discussion, and we will catch you later. And Micah, thanks again for being on the guest. And as usual, panel, you are
Micah, you're awesome.
What's that?
Thanks, Micah. Cue the Bobby Brown.
Let me find the ending of this Mickey Mouse. Stick around after the show here, Micah. We'll talk for a second, then we'll let everybody go. All right. Hey, adios, amigos.
Peace.